Hey, I want to be very upfront right now. Like I stated, if you watched the video prior to this one, I started doing YouTube to be better at communicating, also to be a lot more productive with my time. I feel like creating and keeping my mind active and making things more often and with the purpose of enlightening people to what I do would keep me on my toes and would keep me keep my skills kind of sharpened, right? I think it's actually pretty intimidating. I did a whole video right now and I was working on this graphic for this tutorial and I hated it. And I think that's things like that are gonna happen, right? Like I'm just gonna try to do something and it just might not even work. So I had to get all that off my chest because it is kind of intimidating, right? To sit down in front of a camera and act like you're the expert. I would say I'm proficient at a lot of these things. Obviously there's always gonna be somebody that's better than you, but that's why I'm here, right? So I can learn alongside of you. I'm not here to tell you like, this is the way, this is how you should do it, this is how I'm doing it, so this is how everything should be done. It's more so like, I wanna teach you, and by teaching you, I also want to learn myself. As you can tell from my rambling, I was pretty nervous. Back to the video. Here we have a file in which I created a background banner for my YouTube channel. I thought it would be kind of a fun thing to do. I've seen some creators have some very, very cool ones. Others have some very, very normal ones, such as a very famous videographer that I feel like if you're a photographer, videographer, you kind of look up to this guy or have heard of him at the minimum. Maybe you hate him, but here he is. He goes by the name of Peter McKinnon. The resolution of this image, I bet you, is very, very high. So he's able to blow it up and post it here and be okay with what it looks like. To me, I thought it'd be kind of cool to do something a little bit more creative. So I want to go ahead and make this banner here. And I just thought it'd be kind of interesting. I like the blue, the green, and the black monochromatic pictures that are here. So I went with that. This is the actual full resolution here. So what I'm gonna try to do here is recreate it with you guys. Oh, actually, before I forget, here is the actual file that I got it from. This is a super dope template that I found on Becki and Chris's channel. I will try to post the link below to the exact file because I was able to download it and then open it and it gave me the right dimensions. I could have easily looked it up on Google, but I was watching one of their videos while I was editing and they talked about it and it kind of is what inspired all of this, right? So I want to give them the credit 100% because their file is very in-depth and it's very detailed and I really like it. They even went as far as to give you different shades to know what goes with what, right? So graphic safe area for desktop, minimum, and mobile. So if you were to pull up my channel, it would look something like this. And that is the graphic safe area that it is telling you. That is what I went with when I was creating it. And that is kind of what you want to keep an eye out for. You want to make sure that you don't ignore anything. You could totally just make a banner here and have a black background. Look at what I did. I literally made it a red background and had just like a blue banner in the center. I thought the colors were kind of cool. They kind of contrast with each other. And I also just, I don't know, dope colors, why not? Again, it just kind of off the top of my head, I didn't plan it beforehand or anything like that. I just kind of went with it one day and let inspiration take over. So here we go. I picked this red color because it's kind of cool and a little bit, it's not as bright as some reds. Like if you look at the YouTube logo, it has a higher saturation than this red. And I thought the darker shade would look a little bit more interesting. So this is gonna be my background layer. I'm gonna go ahead and just name it. Oh, actually, you know what? We're gonna name it the TV layer because that's what it is. I'll go ahead and make a new layer and add another rectangle to it, which is gonna be the desktop banner and the mobile banner itself. So here it is. I went ahead and made it a blue shade. Actually, if you do want the color code, because it's a pretty cool shade of blue, we'll pull that up. And there it is right there. It is a 1A3E47. So that's the secondary layer that I made there. And I can see through the transparency that it says graphic safe area. So it still lets me know what I'm working with. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate the layer by clicking on it and then pressing Control-J. That'll let me kind of separate some things here. So what I'm gonna do is make the banner a bit smaller. So I don't remember if I made it a little darker or a little bit lighter. I'm just gonna go ahead and make it a little darker so that there's a tiny bit of separation there. So I'm gonna go ahead and double click on that layer. Gonna go ahead and drop an outer shadow or just a drop shadow. What the heck? I called it outer shadow because I saw outer glow and it threw me off. Okay, so I'm gonna move this over so I can see what I'm working with here. I like the subtlety of the shadow, again, to add further separation to the background. So I went with a 70% opacity normal. I'm pretty sure this is almost a full black. And then 0 pixels on the distance, 0 pixels on the spread, and 57 pixels on the size. So I'm gonna go ahead and press OK on that because I think it looks perfect as is. And I'm gonna go back to the red layer, which comes out as orange here. I'm gonna go ahead and label that red. Make these blue so I know what the heck is what. So there we go. Here I am on the TV layer. I'm gonna go ahead and add some noise to it because who doesn't love a little bit of noise? It gives it a little bit of texture, as you can already see. And I'm gonna go ahead and add some noise as well to this layer. So here we go. I'm gonna actually lower the amount here for this. Only because I don't want them to blend too hard or to look too alike, right? You want to keep that contrast in between them. The next thing that I did, and you'll notice as I'm going through this, that it is actually a pretty simple process. Like so far, I already did a lot and I haven't done much. The next thing I had on hand were these pictures that I took of my drone and some of my equipment. I was practicing some product photography and I was like, oh, I need more Instagram content. Why not post it? So I went ahead and took some pictures of my equipment. I made sure that they were all in the same kind of vertical structure. However, I think the picture of the camera was the only one that was horizontal, but I made that kind of work a little bit. And I'll show you how in a minute. So these two pictures were horizontal as the gimbal and my drone. This is actually the DJI Mavic Pro, the first one. We haven't upgraded since then. There's a lot of flight restrictions where I live, just simply because of the airport, and you cannot fly within, I think, 3 miles of it. And that surprisingly covers a lot of the good part of the city. However, the gimbal itself, no, it's not the Ronin, it's just the first Ronin, whatever that Ronin is, it's this one. I love both of these pieces of equipment. They've helped me out a lot in my work. Either way, I thought they looked pretty monochromatic and chill. Oh, so the thing with the camera, I didn't actually have like an image of a camera. I had more of an image of this ND filter that I just got. It's so speaking of Peter McKinnon, this is actually the VND Peter McKinnon Edition 2. ND filter, right? I'm gonna go ahead and bring the layer back and just slightly, so it's behind the gimbal layer. So what I went ahead and did was, okay, well, it's my channel. I need to have a picture of me. I went ahead and took a picture of myself in my office right away. Obviously, if I have a bunch of equipment lying around, I could probably do that pretty quickly. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this picture. I'm gonna drag and drop it kind of by pressing Control C and then Control V. Okay, so I'm gonna Alt and drag it, make it a lot smaller. So that is unnecessarily big. I'm gonna go ahead and make it about the same size as the layer. Okay, here we go. So made it about the same size. I'm gonna enlarge that to that point. I'm gonna go ahead and use the magic wand tool. You can go ahead and select subject. Obviously a little bit of the headphone is a little bit cut off, but that's totally fine. I'm gonna go ahead and click on the mask layer, and it's gonna go ahead and remove the background for me, which is absolutely fantastic. The headphone is a little cut off, so what I can do to paint it back is go ahead and grab my brush tool, press Control Shift, make sure it is selected on the white, because the white is what's gonna bring back some of the color or some of the things that were deleted. If you want to take something away, you can just Control Shift, or sorry, Shift X, and then it'll delete. So if I do that, it deletes part of my face. So it's looking pretty close, I want to say, right? Like I said, the process to making this was very, very easy. I set out to not make it super complicated. The name I thought would be pretty big. Again, I got the inspiration from Peter McKinnon's channel. He just has it like written, almost like in a handwritten font. So I want to go ahead and did this. I believe the font I used was, what was the font that I used? Okay, it's not it, but the point being, pick whatever font you wanted. And this is, again, just adding a little bit of flair that no one's gonna notice, right? I'm gonna go ahead and Control J on the layer copy of the text, drop the fill down of the top layer to 0. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the little eyeball to the bottom layer. What I'm gonna do is double click on the top layer again, and then I'm gonna add a stroke. So what that's gonna do is add a stroke. Give us an outline of the text by dropping the fill layer, or dropping the fill amount to 0. Which is a very cool effect that I learned a while back. So what I'm gonna try to do here now with the actual text, and this is again just the most minor thing that nobody's gonna notice, but I thought was kind of cool. Opacity, I changed the opacity down a hue, and what that does is that it makes anything in the background, and I will show you by zooming in, black and white. Again, it's such a tiny minor detail, but in my head, I was like, that's kind of cool if anybody ever notices that. Relatively close, obviously the font is a little different. I wanted added, I kind of did the same kind of trick with the text. So I want to go ahead and type videographer, photographer to the right side of me because I figured it's a little too blank. Now that I think about it, they look a lot cooler if they were, okay, I'll just go ahead and do it. Okay, so you go to type, you go down to orientation, and you go to vertical. Go ahead and make that smaller so that it fits. And this way it looks a little cooler. I'm gonna go ahead and Alt, click, and then drag, and then hold Shift to the right so I can change the word here and then not have to redo that whole process. And good thing videographer and photographer are only a few letters apart. We're gonna go ahead and do it that way. So we're gonna drop down the fill to 0, drop the fill down to 0, and then we're gonna add, you guessed it, the stroke. And there you go. It's kind of, obviously this one came out a little different, actually. Kind of dig that, the words there like that. But yeah, I mean, that's essentially what I did. I think the only other thing that was like a major difference was that I added an inner shadow to the background layer, and it gives it just a little bit of depth. So that's basically it. Like I said, a really simple tutorial. I just wanted to make it pretty short and sweet. And just kind of give you guys a little bit of something. And I figured it'd be kind of fun to do more tutorials like this. It's a little hard to keep track of all the steps, especially because there's different techniques to graphic design. And this is just what I did, what I'm familiar with, and what I ended up going with. Again, I'll probably change it up a little bit more later. I like the monochromatic black and white look with a little bit of green in the shadows. I feel like that looks pretty cool, so I might roll with that later. And if I ever update the banner, hopefully you are there to see it. And let me know if you like it a lot or if you like it less than this one. Or if you make one and it turns out to be much better than mine, go ahead and rub it in my face. Either way, I'm going to go ahead and finish out this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you soon. Peace.